What does it mean to engage with the world around you? I think about this question a lot because very rarely do we take the time to engage with others in a meaningful way. We get distracted by our phones, work, or other stresses that are going on in our life. I recently came back from a trip to Barcelona and I noticed how much more engaged I was with the world around me when I was on that trip. And maybe it could have been because I was traveling to another country where English wasn't the native language, so I was forced to listen to what people had to say and think really hard about what I was going to say back. Or it could have been that since I was in another country, I had to put my phone away so I could fully take in the sights and sounds of the city. Whatever it was, I felt more happier, fulfilled, and satisfied when I was choosing to be an active member in society. Now, choosing to be an active member in society and inviting those people into your life actually goes against what you see on a lot of typical self-help videos on the internet. What you see are sound bites of people telling you to lock yourself away in a dungeon and work on yourself for months before reappearing into society. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve yourself, but this whole notion that you need to lock yourself away and you need to expose yourself to the light only at a future state is really dangerous. You're also telling yourself that you're not worthy of being a person in the world until you reach a certain goal. Now, let's say, for example, you don't reach that goal. Does that mean that you're just a scum on the earth? No, it means that you're still a person in this world, so you need to be engaging with others around you. Think of Batman. Oddly enough, whenever people talk about this monk mode state, they tend to fantasize about becoming Batman. Now, when we think of Batman, we actually like to think that he's living a great life, but we all know inside he's struggling. So on the outside, we all know that he makes a ton of money, he's ripped, and he fights villains for a living, but on the inside, he fails to connect with anyone emotionally outside of his butler, and he has no consistent love life. So knowing this, ask yourself, is a life of solitude away from friends, family, or relationship, is that a life that you want to live? Chances are that answer is probably no. While solitude seems like an idealistic way to live, I find that inviting people and not being afraid of connecting with others actually takes more courage. It takes more courage because you are putting yourself out there in the world without a guarantee of how life will treat you back. So in this video, I wanted to share with you 3 ways that you can actively engage with the world around you. Step 1, have open body language. Stand tall, shoulders back, smile, and wave, boys. It's that simple. But how important is it to have open body language in the world? I'd argue that it's probably one of the most important things to be aware of. Think about this. Imagine you're walking on the street, you see one person with their shoulders slouched and having a really mean looking face. When you see that person, you're going to hesitate to talk to them because they don't look receptive to another person. Now imagine you see another person where they walk with a pep in their step. They're standing tall and have a smile on their face. When you see someone like that, you're more likely to approach them for a conversation. This isn't rocket science. We're taught from an early age the importance of having good body language. But I get it, it's hard to want to do that all the time. So how can we artificially cultivate an aura that would help to promote open body language? You can cultivate that aura by dressing good. Now there's this famous quote by Deion Sanders that said, if you look good, you feel good, and if you feel good, you play good. Now this is an idea that was ingrained to me as a child from my dad, who would always tell me and my siblings that we had to look presentable whenever we left the house. So whenever I leave my apartment now, I always spend a couple extra minutes to make sure I'm putting on a t-shirt that looks well on me, or spending a couple extra minutes to make sure I look fully presentable. And I find that whenever I leave my house, I tend to be more receptive and have this better body language about myself because I know I look well on the outside. Now the times when I leave my apartment and I'm not dressed well, or I smell really bad because I got done working out, I'm naturally less inclined to want to talk to people or have good body language because I know I don't want to interact with others when I'm not looking the best. Step 2, put away the distractions. Take off the headphones, put down the phone, and turn off the TV. There are already so many distractions in this world that having multiple extra ones, such as things coming into your ear or things you visually see, will naturally take you away from being present in the current moment and in the current world. Now, I was guilty of always being distracted when I lived in New York City. Whenever I left my apartment back in New York, I always had my AirPods in. In fact, there wasn't a moment in time where I didn't have some sort of music going into my ears. Now, this was great because it kept me inside my own little bubble, and that meant that no one had to disturb me or interact with me because think about it, whenever you have headphones on and you look really pissed off, the chances of someone actually approaching you or wanting to talk to you are very slim. So now whenever I leave my house, I actually leave my headphones away and leave them at my desk. And whenever I go to bookstores or random coffee shops, that means I have to listen to the music that's being played there. But I'm okay with that because that means it opens up the opportunity for random conversation to happen. I remember during the first month of my freshman year of college, I actually was trying to find friends at the time, and I was at the dining hall, and there was these guys that were sat at the dining hall and they had all their soccer jerseys on. And at that moment, one of the Premier League matches had just gone on, and I was able to spot that because I was looking to make new friends, but I also was not distracted by headphones or having anything on my phone. And I actually went out and approached those people and talked about the game with them, and those people ended up becoming some of my great friends, and they've actually helped me introduce me to a lot of the other great friends in my life. I'm not saying that cold approaching people or being less distracted in the world means that you're going to find your future partner or your new friend group, but it does show you the possibility that can happen if you just open yourself up to the idea of having less distractions in your life and just being more aware of the world around you. Step 3, listen with intent. Now think about this. When was the last time you had a conversation with someone and just truly listened to them without thinking about what you were going to say next? Go ahead, think about it. And chances are, if you've thought about it and you can't think of a recent conversation, well, the chances are that you probably haven't done that. And I get it. In this current day and age, it's very easy. We all get caught up in our own lives with our own problems that it's very hard to sometimes listen to what someone else has to say and just truly listen in and be genuinely curious about their life. Now this, out of all the other skills, is much harder to practice because it is a lot easier to say something like listen with intent, but it is an active skill that you need to actively work on if this is something you want to get better at. So I challenge you to just sit back and actually listen to the conversations that you're having and just try to ask more follow-up questions to those answers that you may receive. Now, coming from a journalism background like myself, I'm naturally more inquisitive and want to learn more about a subject matter or a person or a thing. So I'm always looking at ways I can ask follow-up questions with people. But I do remember that there was this one piece of advice my editor gave to me, and he always said that look for the tiny little details of what people say whenever they give answers and ask follow-up questions to that. Through my life experiences, I've noticed that actively engaging helps me find the answers in life. Now, that time alone that you spend with yourself is really important, but if you're looking at solitude as your key to happiness, then you're missing the point. Engage with life the way you would want people to engage with your life.